All right, look, we need to talk. Don't turn off the video just yet. I know what you're thinking. Another CL video. I've seen like 100 of these from 100 YouTubers. They either really love it or they really hate it. There hasn't really been an in-between, okay? But lucky for you, I am here to bring the in-between. Yes, we are going to revisit a launcher that we only reviewed a month ago. And the primary reason why I'm doing that, because prior the technique was to go ahead and just take a random gun off the wall, but this time I wanted to specifically address the CL because there has been a massive amount of disparity between those who really like it, those who really hate it. And I think that using our new parameterization on the revisited reviews, we can look at this launcher objectively, and then you can decide whether or not it's worth your money. So this is the Byrna CL revisited. Now, as you saw in our last revisited episode, which is on the S2, we're going to link that below. We went through 7 different parameters ranging from the size and weight to the power to the value proposition and everything in between. We're about to do that today with the CL. So if you're looking for an honest and objective review from somebody who has no real sway either way, because I love the Pistol, as you probably know, then yeah, look no further. We're gonna really break this thing down and try to review it objectively. Let's do this. All right, so we've already done this once. We're gonna do it again. I'm gonna unbox this. For those of you who haven't seen our prior video, we did already conduct a review on this, but we're gonna try it again. So I'm gonna show Stumpy real quick. We're gonna open this up. Now this does open up backwards, so it is a little bit of a weird design, but once you get it open, that is everything that comes in the box. So this is the Byrna CL. And the first parameterization that we're always going to start with is going to be the size and weight, which, to be honest, you cannot beat it with this launcher. I would be a fool to say otherwise. This is the lightest and the smallest pepperball launcher that is currently offered on the market, to my knowledge. So I'm going to take out the scale. I'm going to take out the tape measure. Let's find out the exact size and the exact weight of this launcher with the magazine in it, with the CO2 in it. All right, guys, with Stumpy as my witness, we're about to weigh this launcher with the mag and with CO2 in it, because that's how you're going to carry it. So let's go ahead and we'll set this on the scale. Let me make sure Stumpy can see this good. All right. Launcher is on the scale, and we are at 12 ounces, 12.7 ounces. Now that is literally less than a pound, which is incredible. That is the one thing that I think you cannot beat with this launcher. I think everybody agrees. This is the smallest and the lightest pepperball launcher ever made. So let's measure it. Now, for those of you who have a tape measure, you can take yours out and verify this so you can see if it's small enough for you. We have 6.5 inches by 5 inches. So 6.5 inches by 5 inches. Now, I think, yes, I recall, the S2 is around 9 inches by 7 inches, so quite a bit larger than the CL. But yeah, this is an incredibly small launcher. I think it goes without saying that this is going to be one of the highest ratings for size and weight that we're going to get on all of these revisiting series. So with that said, let's go to the next parameter. The next parameterization that we're going to look at is the ease of reload and or the round capacity. That actually brings me to one of our friends, East Coast Less Lethal. If you haven't heard of him, he's got a pretty funny accent. He probably says coffee like coffee, but that's fine. I'm not going to hold it against him. He sent us this package, and I think I know what this is, which is why we were waiting to open it until we get to this parameter. So I'm going to crack it open real quick. And huge shout out, man. I love your videos. Seriously, if you haven't checked out East Coast Less Lethal, please take a look at the stuff that he puts out. So let's go ahead and crack this open. Oh, we got a lot of goodies. Let's see. I'm going to take these all out one at a time. Oh yeah, this is what I thought it was. So these are the 8-round mag extensions for the CL. Now, one of the things that we learned pretty recently, we didn't think initially that you were able to hot load the CL, but you are able to, which means you can get 5 plus 1, so that's 6 rounds in total. But with the mag extension, you get an additional 2 rounds, which is great. So you get 8 or 9 rounds out of it, which is good. So with that said, I'm actually, as part of this video, going to go ahead and install this mag extension because I think it would be fair to throw this onto our 2 mags, and let's see if we can get through 2 full mags with power. That'll be for a separate section whenever we go through the power of the launcher. So I'm going to get these installed real quick. See you in a sec. All right, so mag extensions are in. I'm going to go ahead and test fit it, and that is what it's supposed to look like. I'm going to go ahead and show Stumpy real quick so that Stumpy can see. This actually fits the launcher fantastically. Brian, or anyone from Byrna, if you're listening, you should get with Greg on these because this is an insanely good addition to the launcher. Now, again, that is Greg from East Coast Less Lethal. That's him right there, and I'm definitely going to be throwing this. I'm going to be throwing this on my wall. I got a ton of stickers. So, yeah, without further ado, let's verify. So, before, we were getting only 5 rounds in the mags of the stock Byrna CL. Let's see if I can get more than 5 now, which I think I will. So, I got 1, 2, and you know, one of the things about the CL is this interesting and weird use of the 61 calibers, which we will delve into a little bit more. I actually, in our first video that we did, I put a ton of information out on the difference between the 61 and the 68 caliber, and my only issue is that whenever you go proprietary on anything, that's generally a bad look to the consumer, but I do understand why they went with a 61 caliber. It does allow for a smaller form factor on the grip than any launcher I've ever come across. And on top of that, you're supposed to get additional capacity, but 5 rounds isn't that great, just to be honest. But, all right, so I got all 8 rounds in this magazine, and I did count and verify, so we have 8 rounds plus 1 that makes for 9, which is a significantly better amount than what it was before, you know, the 5 plus 1. So you get 3 extra rounds out of this, which is pretty fantastic. So with that said, I would say the ammo capacity is another part where it does score fairly high. It does come with 2 magazines, and on top of that, you get 8 rounds in each magazine, so that gives you a total of 17, counting the one in the chamber, for the capacity out of this launcher, which is better than any launcher outside of 43 cal, which is pretty fantastic. Even the 50 cals aren't able to get that high. So without further ado, let's go on to the next parameter. You knew this was coming, so I'm going to hit this head on. I'm going to cut straight to the chase. Power. Now, in our first video, we went over why the joules per square inch was a dishonest way to represent these launchers. I don't know if that was necessarily the intent was to be dishonest, if it was just a marketing scheme, or if they had actual justification for it. We all saw the justification. The idea was impact force per unit area. I understand why they did that, but it is a little dishonest to say 42 joules, whatever it was, 41.9 or 42.9 joules per square inch, and not at all mention the total output of the launcher, which in our testing ended up being around 15 or 16 joules. But we're going to set that aside for right now. I'm going to chrono this with these projectiles and with a fresh CO2. We're going to see what we get out of the first mag and the second mag. We're going to write all of those down, and we're going to find out what kind of power loss we get. Let's do this. All right, guys, now, before I fire this launcher, there's something that I'd like to address. I've seen a few videos where it has been suggested that to get full power out of your first shot, you should do a slow or a half trigger pull prior to firing. That essentially gives the launcher enough time to fill that chamber with CO2 so that you get full power out of that first shot, okay? I'm here to tell you, do not do that. Now, the primary reason you don't want to do that is because in a crisis scenario, you are never going to have enough time to do a half pull and then fire. It is all about the first fraction of a second of a self-defense situation, so please do not try to consciously half pull and then full pull to get first power. Just gonna put that out there. So with that said, when we're testing this, I'm going to count that first shot, and we're going to tell you exactly how many joules you get out of that first shot and all of the subsequent shots. I've seen a vast range between 22 joules all the way down to 8 joules. I'm not sure why there's that difference. Obviously, with CO2 being a compressed air, you're gonna have a difference in power based on the climate. We're currently in at about a 75-degree field, so this should be a really good in-between on power. If you're in a much hotter climate, you're gonna get way more power out of it. If you're in a much colder climate, you're gonna get less power out of it. It's just a matter of how dense the air is outside. So, without further ado, let's get to shooting this thing. Now, it's got to be said, Greg, you made yourself an awesome product. These things are sick. Seriously, I'm just gonna show you. All right, guys, now something I noticed, Greg, this is a fantastic product. The only thing I would suggest is with this mag extension, there's not a lot of play going down, so you're not actually able to hot load it because there's not enough space for you to put the mag in all the way with that round already hot loaded. So that's just a small note, nothing crazy. You're still dealing with 16 rounds, which is pretty fantastic out of these 2 mags as opposed to 10. So with that said, let's get to shooting. All right, so I'm gonna start with the first one, just straight pull. All right, so that first one was an error. I'm gonna probably end up going back and shooting with a fresh CO2 anyways, but since I already have the first shot out, let's go ahead and knock out the rest of them. So here we go. Ready? 369, 350, 350, oh, that's an error, 328, 307, 313, 318, that's out. Might have wasted some air there. Sorry about that. Here we go. 275, 227, we're running out of air. 229, 268, 264, 256, 259, 269, and that's it. So that extra shot that I fired, the dry fire, was probably around 300 FPS. That's fine. So what we're gonna do is we just went through 16 rounds on the Byrna CL, and we still do have some air left over. Looks like we had about probably 4 or 5 shots left out of that. So you were able to get 2 full extended magazines out of this, which for reference, without the extensions, you would be getting 3 full normal magazines out of it, which is pretty good. We're gonna go back to the studio. We're gonna tell you the exact range of joules all the way from the max to the bottom. I'm gonna pop out the CO2 and we're gonna redo that first shot real quick. So we'll be right back. All right, now, the moment you've been waiting for. A lot of you probably skipped to this section because this is really what you're looking for, right? This is the price per joule and value proposition for the Byrna CL. Now, for those of you who saw our last video that we did on Revisited series, that was the S2, the Salt Supply S2. And we calculated the total price per joule to be around $11. So we're gonna put that right there. It's around like $11.30, if I recall correctly, per joule. With the CL, it's a little bit more. We calculated this out at $40 per joule. And now, you do get a lot of extra stuff in the box, which we're about to go over, but you're gonna be paying $40 per joule of power, which brings me back to my initial thing. This is not a kinetic launcher. Don't fool yourself. This is not a kinetic launcher. This is not a kinetic launcher. This is a chemical launcher. I would recommend this as a pepper ball gun. Now, going to what the launcher actually comes with in the box. You obviously get the launcher. You get 2 magazines, and I'm gonna show Stumpy real quick. It includes a 5 count of the kinetic projectiles. And of course, it also comes with the 5 practice pepper balls. Now, something is missing. Something that they should probably include. That would be the pepper balls. I just spent 10 minutes telling you this is a great pepper ball launcher, but it does not come with pepper balls. That is just my personal criticism. If you guys are watching, definitely include pepper balls in this, please, because this is a great pepper ball launcher. It is not a kinetic launcher. 13 joules all the way down to 7 joules, not a great kinetic launcher. All right, that's me being harsh. Let's go to the next section. All right, guys, now on to the build quality and feel. Now, this is a great feeling launcher. For somebody like me, I have relatively small hands, not have the same stippling. It is just the polymer, and you can actually see that up close. And for reference, I'm gonna grab one of their other launchers so you can see. On the Byrna LE, this section is actually rubber, which makes for a much easier time gripping it. This launcher. You do not get that out of the CL. So what I would do, Greg, if you're listening, try to find a way to make a grip sleeve for these, because I think that would help out a lot with how this launcher feels. Now, that is really all I have to say about the the build quality in the field. This is a pretty decent feeling launcher. I have heard some reviews where folks have said that whenever you shake it really hard, you get a lot of sounds on the inside. So you know what, we're gonna do that live. Let's see if we get a lot of sound. You ready? Sounds fine to me. Again, that might be a QC issue at the factory. Our launcher in particular works fine. We haven't had any issues with it. No discoloration on the launcher itself. Again, that could be a QC issue, but it could also be related to shipping. I'm not going to throw all blame towards the manufacturer, as it could be a host of things, but just something to look out for. Now, let's get on to the next parameter. All right, now on to the unique features of this launcher, and actually I think this is a huge winning point for Byrna. So 3 things I'm going to go over. Number 1, the hot load, which we've already talked about, but I'm still going to go over it. Number 2, the fact that you can fit an optic on it from the factory. And number 3, and most obvious, the pull to pierce, which in this case is a positive and a little bit of a negative. So let's get into it. Now, with the fact that you can hot load this, it's fantastic, because that means that now your magazines, they hold 5 rounds each. We're just going to ignore the fact that Greg did such a fantastic job with these. From the factory, they only hold 5 rounds each. And instead of limiting yourself with 10 rounds, now you can have 1 loaded hot, so you get 11 rounds. And with the pull to pierce giving you a fairly atrocious amount of power out of that first shot, it's nice to have 1 extra. So you're still gonna get 5 full powered shots out of that first magazine. The first one's gonna be kind of a dud. Just be ready for that. Now, regarding the fact that you can throw an optic on it, there are not a lot of pepper ball launchers out there that you can throw an optic on. And one of the big benefits with this launcher in particular is we found that it is extremely accurate, whether or not that's because of the smaller size of the round or the fact that rounds are bore matched. So obviously they produce the 61 caliber specifically for the only 61 caliber launcher on the planet, the Byrna CL. So of course, the rounds that they're going to manufacture for it are specifically made for this launcher. That might be why it's so accurate. But that's with the iron sights. So the fact that you can throw an optic on it as well, I think that is a huge benefit to this launcher. Now, on to the elephant in the room, in a good way or a bad way, the pull to pierce. One of the big benefits of pull to pierce is you still retain the dormant CO2 like you would out of a quick pierce, but you take away that extra step of having to quick pierce the CO2 before firing. With this launcher, as soon as you pull it out and pull the trigger, it shoots. No questions asked, no issues. And you don't have to deal with the giant drawback of magazines that are pressurized all the time, which is going to primarily be blown out O-rings. Now, again, on the drawbacks, the only bad thing is that with this specific mechanism, and I believe that they are going to address this, but at least for right now, with this specific mechanism, when you pull the trigger fast, you lose 90% of power out of that first shot. We were getting, on average, 2 to 3 joules out of that first shot. That is not great at all. Back to the fact that you can hot load it, at least you still get 5 full power shots out of that first magazine. So I would recommend hot loading this if you're going to carry it as a daily carry. We do need to conduct this test. We haven't conducted it. We need to get more practice pepper balls, but I am interested to see if we can still get the first round out of this to pop. And we are going to have to practice it on different surfaces. I have no doubt in my mind that even at 2 joules, a practice pepper ball is going to rupture on a piece of plywood, obviously. But we do have some softer targets that we're going to be testing it on. Not me, don't worry, we already went through that. But we do have some softer targets that we are going to fire on to see if we can get that first round to rupture with only 2 joules of power. So yeah, now on to the next thing. All right, now on to the upgradability and the mods available. We're going to go ahead and get upgradability out of the way. There's nothing. Now, when it comes to upgrading Byrnas, obviously they're extremely proprietary with these launchers, so you're not able to do any of the traditional upgrades like removing a valve block or HPA tapping or really anything else. But now on to the mods available. This is where it gets interesting. For such a new launcher, we already have quite a bit of aftermarket support coming from the community. Obviously, we've already heard from Greg from East Coast Less Lethal, who has produced these really nice magazine extensions. But there is a chance that we're going to get a Byrna boost out of this soon. If we could get a Byrna boost, we could see a significant amount more power out of this launcher. I think the primary reason why we're getting a low amount of power is because of the size of the barrel. Obviously, a longer barrel entails more power because that round is under pressure for a longer period of time. Additionally, there are some companies such as Less Lethal Ballistics who produces an aluminum round, and that is just the beginning. There's obviously going to be manufacturers that will be producing 61 caliber rounds if this becomes the new norm. Now, In terms of mods, we do have a couple other things on the way that we can't quite announce yet, but that is really all we have for right now is this mag extension. And the fact that you can get the 61 cal Sentinel rounds from Less Lethal Ballistics. Now, these are obviously brand new products. They have yet to been tested and put through the ringer. So we're gonna have to see with time how these hold up, which yes, we're going to absolutely test the crap out of these. And test number 1, it's still in one piece. It passed test number 1. Now, we're gonna go on to the conclusion.
What was that?
I threw it. All right, now, the conclusion, which is the Skully score. We're gonna go ahead and put it right here as I talk. So, first thing we went over was the size and concealability. I would be remiss if not to give this a 10. Obviously, it is the smallest launcher ever made, even smaller than the Carry, which is a small launcher, but it's even smaller than the Carry. And you really can't beat it. So it's got a 10 on size and concealability. After that, we have the ease of reload or round capacity. We're actually gonna give that a 9. The only reason it's not a 10 is because to make it a 10, you need to get these from Greg. So the fact that you can get 3 full magazines out of it and still retain decent power, and it is super easy to reload, that gives it a 9 out of 10. On to the next one, power and functionality. Now, for a chemical launcher, we're thinking like a 5 or a 6. As a kinetic launcher, like a 2. So we'll meet in the middle, we'll call it a 4. On to the next one, we have the build quality and feel, which of course includes the weight. We're gonna give that a 6 out of 10. Now there are some things to improve upon. This is still a first edition launcher, but really good start, great form factor. On to the next thing, we have the price per joule. Come on, it's a 2. I have to, right? Because $40 per joule, that's a lot of money, right? But it does make up in some of the other things, as you can see. So for the price per joule, we're gonna give it a 2. On to the unique features, the pull to pierce, the fact that you can hot load it and you can put an RMR on it, we're gonna give that a 6 out of 10. Now, there is obviously room to improve. Again, if we do get a Byrna boost out of this, that's gonna crank it up quite a lot. But for right now, 6 out of 10. After that, the last thing is we had the upgradability and the mods available. We're gonna give that a 4. The reason we're gonna give that a 4 is because not only do we have these fantastic mag extensions by Greg. By the way, we're not getting kickbacks. We just love Greg over at East Coast Less Lethal. He's great. Anyways, not only do we have these, but we have more products that are coming out from viewers that have been sending us stuff in, and you're gonna be seeing those soon. So we're gonna give that a 4 out of 10. Now, I did not decide these scores. No, this was decided by, you know who?
Yeah, me. But I gotta say, as far as upgradability and mods, guys, that number is going to increase.
Yep.
And I suspect that the second somebody comes out with a viable Byrna boost for this, it'll connect onto that Picatinny rail and add about 2 inches onto that barrel. This goes to probably an 18 to 20 joule launcher. Then you're effective. That is wonderful for kinetic defense.
Yep.
And it's going to get better. This is a first draft. We have, like you heard Luke say, we have another user that is sending us in some really cool mag holders. When they get here, we'll put those up on a video for you. You guys have seen how small that thing is. I mean, look, you can't see it. I mean, that's great. Yeah, honestly, as far as the numbers go, powered functionality isn't even really that big of a deal when it comes to a pepper round launcher. And the reason it's not a big deal is because if you're hitting anywhere from 4 to 9 joules, you're breaking rounds on standard clothing. Now, if they're wearing heavier padded clothing, always know where you are, always. Know your surroundings, know your target, know what's behind your target, right? Well, if you're going out in the dead of winter and it's freezing outside and you want to carry this for kinetic defense, you are wrong. If they are wearing heavy padding, unless you score a neck shot, groin shot, face shot, it's going to bounce, right? That's the reality of it. Now, if you're out in Miami and everybody's wearing shorts and a t-shirt, fantastic. It'll take care of the job. As far as ease of reload, he's right. Round capacity is great with that extension. And Greg, kudos, man. That really did turn out nice. It's funny because it got me to thinking, I don't think there's a limitation on how long you could make that. I'd like to see a mini drum mag. Just for fun.
If we can get 16 rounds out of it, yeah, we might as well have it all in
that
drum
would be
mag.
sick. I would love that.
Slight sacrifice in concealability, but one thing that I should note is that even with the Byrna boost, this does not affect concealability at all. Concealability is all about 2 things, and that is the grip and the clothes you wear. So as long as the grip remains small and as long as you wear baggier clothes, you can conceal this just about anywhere.
Yeah, agree.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, as far as unique, Byrna is still the only, well, I won't say they're the only people in the game that has the pull to pierce, because obviously Tipman and Salt Supply, the S1s and all that had that, but it's the only less than lethal that is currently in a compact form factor that you can actually use. And of course, that's been standard across their entire platform. HDs, SDs, LEs, the whole 9 yards. So I do like that. And I hope, Brian had talked about on the meeting about putting on a kind of a trigger lockout on that, to where you could literally pull it to a click and then pull further. So I'm thinking maybe it'd add a pound of pressure or something to the second pull. So you pull back and it would stop, and then you pull again.
Kind of like you get a wall in.
Like you'd have an old small wall.
Like a firearm,
yeah, giving the CO2 just a split second to charge that cylinder up a little bit.
Right.
So that itself would make a big difference, and I'm hoping that they move forward with that. You guys heard that on the roundtable.
Oh,
But,
the
yeah.
Skully score. I forgot to say the aggregate.
We
Okay.
got to go the average of the Skully score.
Yeah. So,
yes.
as you can see, these are our scores on the side. Now, the aggregate Skully score, out of 10, we gave it a 5.7. Now, there is plenty of room to improve. Again, this is a first edition launcher. This is the first true concealed carry launcher that has ever come out. Yes, it is very expensive. No, it does not shoot as hard as some of us would like it to, but the fact that there are companies out there that are producing actual concealed carry launchers, I think this is a great sign. I think we need a Byrna boost out of this. I think we need different rounds, and I think we need more aftermarket availability. So for those of you engineers out there who have your little fingers on Fusion 360, get to work, because we want to test out all the stuff you have. So I think that's all, right? Anything else?
Yeah, give us a Byrna boost. Quit screwing around.
Yeah, please give us a Byrna boost. Again, if you didn't catch it the other times, give us a Byrna boost.
Yeah, oh, hey, one more thing, guys. Give us a Byrna boost. Okay.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.